Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm Kevin.
Yeah, and I'm Ben.
Where's Ryan?
He's at a wedding.
He's at what? He's not.
You know
he's
what?
Not coming?
Life goes on. YouTube doesn't sleep, so we're here. We're going to do what today?
We're going to show you what to look for when you have somebody come and do a termite inspection on your home.
Was that important?
That is very important. Yes, absolutely. There's always with everything. There's a right way and there's a wrong way to do things.
Oh crap! We're going to get into that, I guess. So stay tuned. So when we're doing an inspection on the outside of the home, some of the things that you should expect the inspector to do, I said inspector, is there's some key areas, problem areas that termites
Absolutely.
like.
Termite hot spots.
Termite hot spots. So one of them is anywhere where wood is going to touch the ground or concrete or where moisture can collect. So the bottom of this H-frame obviously is one area that's touching the concrete. Water can pile there, it can soak it up, it can bring in moisture. Termites love that. And there's a seam here in the concrete so they can come up through there.
Exactly. That's where they're going to come up. They're going to come up in the cracks. And we consider anything where the exterior clad of your home touches the exterior grade. That's what Ryan would say, super highway.
Yep,
Those
highway.
are definite places to worry about termites coming in your home.
So termites are going to come from the ground, probably behind this crack here and up into the wood. So obviously the H framing is touching down there, so that's going to be the more likely spot where they're going to come up. You won't typically see them here, although you can, but we do want to check all of these. So check them for moisture, check them for any mud or water damage or termite tubes of any kind. So that's a hot spot.
Okay, Ben, another area of concern is where the exterior clad would meet the exterior grade. Now,
What the frick did you just say?
exactly. An exterior clad can be anything. It can be brick, it can be siding, it can be wood,
So
stone.
this is cladding.
This is cladding. Anything
Okay.
on the exterior of the home, right? And the exterior grade is where the ground meets the home.
Well, yeah, that's easy. Grade. Come on.
Well, so what a lot of people don't realize is that their grade to the ground is touching the siding. If you have an area like that and you're capable of it, you're going to want to pull that back. You want to see at least a couple inches of the foundation all the way around your home to make sure that you can see any type of termite activity as it comes in. Yeah, this homeowner's done a really good job of maintaining the property and trimming things back, so good job. So we're here on the backside portion of the home, and here we're going to see where we've got some electrical conduit getting ran into the home. And these are also going to be areas where we might see some termite activity.
Hey, could that be a superhighway?
It could be a superhighway, absolutely. So what we have is a lot of times termites will build their tunnels behind these pipes. They're stuck really tight to the wall. So we're going to want to make sure, get our flashlight out and look behind these to make sure that we don't see any termite activity or mud tubes. And these look good.
So one more thing we want to point out as we're coming across and inspecting this, fences come really close to the ground. Sometimes they're touching. So where that gets to the house, we want to make sure that obviously this area doesn't have termite damage and then it's not moving all the way up into the house.
Correct. All right, so we're here at the front stoop again talking about termite hot spots.
But why are you calling this a hot spot?
Well, so what happens here is these are separate pours from the home. So they're going to pour this. It's going to be empty inside. And a lot of times what will happen is your scrap wood and just different things will get thrown into there, and then they cap it off with concrete. So what you've created here is you've created a dark hole for termites to live. And
So
they
would
love
you say this
area.
is like a termite bait station?
It kind of is actually, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Except for, unfortunately, with this base station, you can't see in it to see any activity.
Yeah, obviously we can see the outside, but we're not going to see the inside or some of the stuff that contacts the home. So on the back side of this, if there's termites inside, then they can get up around the front door, into the wall, anything like that from just the inside of the stoop.
Yeah, so they'll be climbing in from underneath this because there's dirt underneath this. So you have your concrete foundation.
There's no floor inside of this box.
And they can crawl up underneath here and then get into your front door areas. And this is a very, very common area. What they like to do is they get into the trim around the front door.
Yep.
And then that's how they'll gain access to the house.
They don't need much space. So where this ends up against the house, it could be a itty bitty little space, and they can just come out of it.
Absolutely. And there should be a couple things too I'd like to talk about. Some tools that your inspector should have.
Hey, nice bucket.
Thanks. Yeah, we call this the termite terminator bucket. Okay, so we've got
No, we don't. You call it that.
It's my name for it. We've got a couple different things here. So we've got our moisture meter. How's that work, Ben? You want to show us?
Well, you have to turn it on. Okay, so what this will do is on any wall, we can put it up, and obviously there's moisture in the concrete, so it can sense that.
Sure.
But it's going to tell us if there's any moisture in the wood. So we've got a little bit there on some of this, which it's outside, so it's probably going to have some moisture.
You bet.
But if you've got excessive moisture, it's telling you, it's beeping. So these are, my hands have moisture. So these are useful to tell us on the areas, especially sheetrock inside, where we can't see behind it, to see if there's any termites back there, because they're going to carry moisture with them in the mud.
Absolutely. So that's a good way to kind of see behind a wall when we can't see behind a wall. So we've got all kinds of stuff here. We've got our safety glasses. We've got our big screwdriver. Sometimes we need to get in things and check underneath them. We've got sometimes in homes we've got termites.
That looks dangerous.
It is, and we can't see where the colony's coming from. And it's very important to, when you're treating a home, to understand where the colony's coming from. Sometimes we may have to. If we see termite damage and can't determine where the colony comes from, we may want to take a look behind the wall. Because obviously, why would we treat something when we don't know where they're coming from? How would we treat it properly? We wouldn't, right. So that gives us an opportunity to determine the exact area where the termites are coming in the home. We also have...
Is the sweatshirt important?
The sweatshirt's important. This is super important. Anytime you're doing anything with taking the rim joist, which we're going to show you later in the video, you want to protect yourselves. And it's hot out. We're wearing short sleeves today, but when we're down there removing that rim joist installation, we want to have something to cover our arms. We want to have...
I want to pull out your pick.
Yeah.
This is important, right?
It is.
And some guys misuse this, but we want to make sure when we find moisture or different areas like that, that we're testing to see how rigid, these items are. So if we find excessive moisture in a piece of wood, we can check it, or sheetrock. We can look through a pinhole instead of ripping a whole big hole.
Well, it's not invasive, so what we would do is we'd stick that in any type of questionable area where there would be excessive moisture or wood rot, and would allow us to see back there to see if we're seeing any evidence of mud tubes or termite activity. Because wood rot can be confused as termite damage.
I don't want to bulldoze the home just to see what's underneath.
Absolutely not, especially when it's just maybe repairing a water leak.
So what you got in your hand there?
So again, very important when you're dealing with insulation in the basement, you want to have a protective mask. This is an N95.
Those are hard to come by.
Well, I've had it for a lot of years now, so yeah, I don't throw this away. But you want to smell it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm good. Thanks. What else?
Knee pads. Super important. You want to have knee pads.
For old guys?
Well, old guys and young guys. I'm telling you, sometimes you've got to get into a crawl space. Sometimes you've got to get underneath things. And it's our responsibility to say, gosh, I don't really want to get under that area is unacceptable. You need to put the knee pads on, and you have to get dirty sometimes to make sure that we're doing a proper inspection on the home.
What else?
Gloves. Gloves are super important also to protect your hands when you're doing the inspection.
You've never used those gloves before,
No, you can tell that, I haven't used these before, but this will help you. Obviously, when you're taking rim joist material out, there's nails that poke you. There's all kinds of different things, so you want to protect yourself against any injuries or issues. Also, a headlamp. This is really important when you're up there on the ladder and you're trying to hold a flashlight. You're not going to be very efficient, and you kind of want to use both hands to brace yourself. So I always put a headlamp on, so that way I have 2 free hands to help remove insulation and brace myself when I'm up on a ladder to be safe and also do a thorough job. And then, of course, my trusty safety glasses, right? We want to make sure we're protecting our face, especially when we're removing things, because we're looking up and we don't want things to fall on our face and whatnot. Then my trusty laser. This is what I use to take measurements for the home, so I can correctly calculate how much product is needed to treat a home.
Yeah.
And there's several different ways to do that. This is just the one that I prefer.
So outside termite inspection, obviously we have to have access to see the outside of the home where it hits the ground. What we're doing is we're looking at where the concrete and the wood meet. That's where the termites are going to end up.
You bet.
So no matter how high this area is, we need to make sure that there's nothing coming up on the outside. So this one's good because it's got a gap between the ground and the siding. So we're looking for where the siding dives into the ground. That's a hot spot for termites. And we're going to check all of this concrete area all the way around. Yeah,
Okay, so one thing I'd like to talk about here is when we have really good visual access to the foundation, except for this area where this hosta is. So a lot of termite inspectors aren't going to look behind that. Ben, what do you think about that?
Yeah, there's probably snakes in there, so I'm not going to. You go ahead and check it.
And I'm not afraid of snakes. So one thing your inspector should be doing is when you do have some sort of shrubs or trees within reason, you should be able to reach your hand back here and pull and look at the foundation so you can see. If you want to zoom in on this, you can see back here now we can see the foundation.
You see any snakes over there, Kevin?
I don't see any snakes, but I'll tell you what, if termites are going to be on the home, this is going to be one of the areas they're going to want to come in because it's shaded and they can't be bothered behind here. So we're going to want to make sure and completely look behind these bushes and make sure that the house is clean and clear of any type of mud tubes or termite activity.
Okay, so we came into the basement. This is one of the areas that we need to check, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, yep.
So termites are going to come from the ground. So if they're coming from the ground, they're either going to come up this wall or they're going to come up the outside of the wall. And they're going to want to get to the wood that's up here. So on the outside, obviously, we're going to do our inspection, but on the inside, it's important to get to these rim areas. So we've got to, remove the insulation,
Remove the insulation.
check behind it, and see what there is back there.
Yeah, termites don't like light, so if you're going to have them in the basement, if they're not coming up your foundation walls, they're going to be behind the insulation. They don't like light, so they're going to be hiding from that, and that's one of the best areas to hide in the basement. So what they should be doing is simply removing any insulation, lifting it up or down so we can see the bare wood in the back. So what we're looking for is any type of termite damage, wood-destroying insect damage, or termite mud tubes. And so this is how we properly inspect a rim joist. After that, we try to put everything back where we found it, how it was. A lot of people aren't doing this because, as you can see, it's not easy.
And it's a little bit dusty. Okay, let's go. All right, one more area in the basement that is a concern is anything that penetrates through the floor, through the slab. So we're going to look at stuff like the drains, and then back behind there's a water main that comes into the house, and those are, they come through the concrete, so that's going to be areas where termites will come in.
Yep.
These look really good. There's no cracks around them, so if there's a crack coming up to the side of it, then that's typically an indication of you can look for mud tubes, you can look for activity there. They're going to love it because there's moisture there.
Moisture, yep.
And it's a way in.
Absolutely, yeah. Making sure that you seal any cracks in your subfloor or check around any plumbing lines or drains is imperative. And the technician, typically these places are very dark, so your technician or your inspector should have a very bright flashlight to be able to check these areas and make sure they don't see any evidence of wood-destroying insects or termites.
In the basement, this is a drain coming from upstairs somewhere, probably the kitchen. It's going to go all the way down to the floor, so we do want to check that really well because that is a penetration through the slab.
You bet. We want to come down with our bright light, and we're going to make sure that we check around the perimeter of the penetration through the subfloor. And then also, more importantly, we want to check behind as well. Those termites are pretty sneaky sometimes, and they can get behind
And
things.
they'll climb right up this pipe.
So we want to check behind those lines to make sure that we don't have any activity.
And typical basement, we're going to be storing stuff. The homeowner is going to be storing stuff. This actually is pretty clean compared to a lot of ones I've seen. But
Absolutely.
Again, we need to have access to see this stuff. Otherwise, we have to mark it as inaccessible.
Inaccessible, yeah. So there's a lot of areas that in the home, if you were just to move, again, items out 3 to 4 feet, termite inspectors could do a much better job of making sure that your home is checked properly and taken care of properly. So today, Ben, we're in another room, and this is part of the basement, and here is a unique feature.
I love it.
Yeah, so we have a semi-finished basement where it looks like they've got the walls up, but they haven't gotten the ceiling up quite yet. This is good and bad for us. We've got 2 different things here. So one thing is that we are able to view the rim joists, and again, as we talked about earlier, it's a very important part of the inspection if you can get to them. Secondly, we've got a finished wall here, and unfortunately behind these walls you're going to have some of those penetrations coming through the floor, the plumbing, drains, whatever it might be, and we can't see behind there. These areas we consider inaccessible, right? We can't see behind the walls. So unfortunately, something like this we wouldn't be able to see, but we can see and inspect the top part, which is good.
Okay, what we're going to talk about real quick is preparation that a homeowner can do when you're having an inspection. There's not a lot on the outside. We need to have gates open. We need to be able to see everything all the way around. Inside is where it's important. You've got to give us access to see the parts that we need to check. So we're in a garage. I wonder if there's anything good in the fridge.
Yeah, let's take that out.
So one of the things that we want to make sure we can see is the exterior wall, right? That's interior, this is exterior. So what are we looking for here?
Well, so there's obvious things. You know, you're going to have your refrigerator, you're going to have your workbench, and obviously you're not going to be able to move those things. But before you have an inspector come out, simple things like, you know, any of your stuff that's underneath, you can actually pull out for the inspector to see, because it's going to be important. These are almost like a rim joist, similarly to where typically people have stuff butted up to the exterior perimeter of their garage. Well, that's going to be a perfect place for a termite to want to come in and build a mud tube and get into your home. So we would recommend that, you know, prior to inspection, pulling these items out so the inspector can get back there and see what he needs to see to do an inspection properly.
All right, I'm tired, man.
It's been a long day.
That was a lot of work.
It's hot out here today.
It is hot, but it's nice. Nice thing is we inspected a home that was, you know, was really well prepared for us.
Absolutely.
And there wasn't any problems, which is nice. So, you know, they could probably sleep sound for the next year.
Absolutely.
And then call us back next year and have another inspection, and we'll check and see how things go.
Yep. I definitely would recommend an annual inspection by a professional.
All right, so thanks for hanging out with us today. I'm Ben.
I'm Kevin.
And we're the pest control guys, minus Ryan. So we'll catch you next time.
See you next time.
Replace some wood and stuff up in there, and there's a big FedEx truck. My X-ray vision works here, but it doesn't work here.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a on switch. Yeah. You gotta jump start it. Well, I mean, like, you gotta get a go at it and then it kicks on.
See you next time. I'm Kevin.
Are we really doing that?
I don't know. I was just going.
All right, you want to start us off on one? Okay.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And you're watching Disney Channel.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Do we need to move that?
No, it's fine.
Gary. Say hi, Gary.
Get out of here, that's what he says. Or cracks. You know, we're going to look for mud tubes in the cracks.
Yeah, cracks kill.
Oh, we got a fill-in. He's authorized us.
Yeah, authorized.
Yep.
I'm here on official business.
Official business.
I'm Kevin.
Is that where you're going to start?
Oh, I thought that's all we needed.
Okay. Welcome back.
Good to see you.
Hey, you got a nice shadow over there.
Yeah, look at that guy.
See if I remember. The dude wearing a baseball cap. Oh, hello. All right, here we go. Okay, cut that out.